In the year 2147, Earth had been irrevocably transformed by human ambition and technological advancement. Cities reached into the stratosphere, powered by fusion cores and quantum grids. The surface, scorched and barren from centuries of industrialization, was left to crumble, while humanity thrived above in gleaming spires of chrome and glass. But it wasn't the surface that held Earth's most profound secret. Deep beneath the ruins, in the endless labyrinth of forgotten tunnels, something ancient stirred. Lieutenant Aidan Kerrigan was a soldier, not by choice, but by necessity. The consortium ruled over humanity with an iron grip, conscripting its citizens for their ever-expanding conflicts with rival colonies on Mars and Europa. Aidan had been deployed to all corners of the solar system, yet nothing could have prepared him for this assignment. A deep reconnaissance mission into the bowels of old Earth. "Why us?" Corporal Elena Trask muttered as their squad descended into the blackened depths of the tunnel network. The air was heavy, oppressive, and laced with the scent of decay. Their orders were cryptic. Investigate anomalous energy readings detected far below the surface. Aidan could feel the unease in his team. Soldiers trained for space combat weren't accustomed to being buried alive. "Because someone up top hates us," Aidan replied dryly, gripping his plasma rifle tighter. The dim light from their headlamps barely pierced the darkness. Hours turned into days as they delved deeper. The tunnels grew stranger, ancient carvings lining the walls, glowing faintly with a pulsating amber hue. Their communications with the surface grew patchy, then failed entirely. Still, the readings on their instruments spiked higher, compelling them onward. "What is this place?" Elena whispered as they entered a cavern so vast it seemed to swallow their light. In its center stood a monolithic structure, a black obelisk covered in shifting, glowing patterns. The air hummed with energy. "It's alive," muttered Corporal Ortiz, the team's tech expert. His voice trembled. "This isn't man-made. This predates us." Before anyone could respond, the ground shook violently. A deep, resonant sound, like the groan of a dying star, filled the air. The obelisk's glow intensified, casting the cavern in a hellish light. Shapes emerged from the shadows, towering figures of ash and flame, their eyes burning with unearthly fire. "Contact!" Aidan shouted, his squad opening fire. Plasma bolts tore through the air, but the creatures were undeterred. Their movements were fluid, almost graceful as they advanced. One soldier screamed as a creature's molten hand passed through him, leaving nothing but glowing embers where he stood. Fall back! Fall back!" Aidan ordered, but it was too late. The cavern was alive now, the walls shifting, closing in. The obelisk began to crack, spilling streams of molten light that seared the ground. In the chaos, Aidan was separated from his team. He stumbled through a narrow tunnel, the heat unbearable, his breathing labored. The walls seemed to pulse with life, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. When he finally collapsed, he found himself in a smaller chamber, its center dominated by a crystalline sphere suspended in the air. The whispers grew louder, filling his mind. He felt a presence, vast, ancient, and unfathomably alien. It wasn't hostile, but neither was it benevolent. It was simply, there. "You are the spark." The words weren't spoken. They were imprinted on his very being. He reached out, his hand trembling, and touched the sphere. Pain exploded in his mind, but with it came clarity. When Aidan awoke, he was no longer the same. His body glowed faintly, his veins coursing with amber light. The creatures that had decimated his squad now stood motionless around him, their fiery eyes dimmed. He understood now. They were not enemies but guardians, protectors of the ancient power buried within the earth. He was the Ember, chosen to carry this power. But it was not a gift, it was a responsibility. The energy he now bore could reshape worlds or annihilate them. The surface dwellers had unknowingly awoken something they couldn't control, and Aidan was the only one who could contain it. Emerging from the depths weeks later, Aidan found himself in a world he no longer recognized. The consortium's forces were waiting, weapons drawn, their leaders demanding answers, but Aidan wasn't afraid. He could feel the energy coursing through him, a living force that burned brighter with every breath. You've been meddling in things you don't understand, he said, his voice calm but laced with power. Now you'll face the consequences. The ground beneath him trembled as the obelisk's energy surged through his veins. The sky darkened, and for the first time in centuries, Earth roared to life. And one day that ember would consume him.